every so often, it's nice to kick back and have some fun once in a while. Not everything has to be serious, and not everything has to have stakes. It's very rare in a No Game No Life that we actually have a game being played where there is nothing bet by the Covenants. No one's life is at risk, let alone the existence of an entire race. And so far, there is one such game that has been shown as of Volume 5, and that takes place in the middle of Volume 4, when Sora, Shiro, Steph, Jabril, the Shrine Maiden, Ino, Izuna, and the Dampier Plum all go to the beach for a day of fun in the sun. And what is the beach without some time to play? For once, Steph is able to take it easy. There's no stress at this particular moment, as she's passing a ball back and forth between herself, Sora, Shiro, and Izuna. It is just fun to play for once in a while. But as she passes the ball to Izuna, Izuna catches the ball, saying that she doesn't understand the rules. Just passing the ball back and forth doesn't really make sense to Izuna, which, given that she was the representative for the entire Eastern Federation for likely majority of her life, at least as far back as she can remember, games have always been a competition. As we saw at the end of the anime, Izuna has never had fun playing a game because it was always work. An unfortunate side effect of that is that she doesn't know how to just play. And so Sora defines the rules. You have to pass the ball from one person to another in a single touch, and if you aren't able to do so, then you lose. Simple enough. Izuna understands that. And so, Steph, blissfully unaware, now that rules have been set, doesn't realize that the 3 gamers that she's playing with have all readied themselves to essentially bare their souls in this game, because it has defined rules. There are clear conditions to win and lose, and even though this is a physical competition against a Werebeast, someone that can break the laws of physics, Sora and Shiro do not intend to lose. Now, it is a fabric ball that they are playing with, and at the first, they were able to pass it back and forth, no issues, but Sora and Shiro share a look. And so, Shiro starts off with the ball, and she dips the bottom of this fabric ball in the water, and passes it to Steph, precisely at the moment where there is no wind blowing. So she can accurately pinpoint where it is going to land, and where Steph is going to hit it, assuming she does not move. And Steph, the ball coming right at her, she passes it to Izuna, unaware that the bottom of the ball is now wet with water, and heavier, and now off balance. And so, the ball goes off in a direction that Steph did not expect. It is going farther away from Izuna. But of course, Izuna, with her physical capabilities, is able to get to the ball without any difficulty, and is able to simply pass it to Sora. But a pass from a Werebeast is essentially equivalent to having the ball being spiked by a pro volleyball player. And so, it goes hurtling at Sora. You know, the gamer who we could assume has very little physical dexterity. But, as we found out in Volume 4, Sora's, I wouldn't necessarily say jacked, per se, but the light novel did explicitly state that he's able to do 50 push-ups in a row now, because after the game against the Werebeast, when he first fought against Izuna in Love or Loved 2, he realized that his physical capabilities aren't all that up to snuff. And so he's been working out a bit more regularly, doing push-ups and sit-ups, and it said that he could do 50. Now, I guess I should clarify, I don't know if that exactly means that he can do 50 between sit-ups and push-ups. I believe it was supposed to be 50 of each, though I don't know if that's consecutively, because I'd argue that a lot of people would struggle to do 50 push-ups in a row. And given that it's only been 2 weeks since the game against the Werebeasts, it would be quite surprising that Sora would be able to up his physical abilities that quickly. Though, I guess it might be something along the lines of similar to other isekai anime, where the gravity is slightly less on Disboard, so Sora's strength as it was in our world is slightly increased in Disboard, though given his physical capabilities within Lover Love 2, maybe that's not exactly the case. Regardless, getting back to my point of talking about Sora's physical capabilities, he's not intimidated by this ball coming towards him at all. In fact, he quite dramatically falls backwards into the water, causing a plume of water to come up and stop the ball. And by the time it pierces through that pillar of water, its speed is negligible, and Sora is able to kick the ball with his feet and aim it directly at Shiro. Yet again showing that Sora is able to do some pretty quick calculations and has some interesting physical dexterity, given that we saw he was able to guarantee from a coin flip that it was going to rotate in the air over 100 times and still land in the exact point that he wanted it to. Now he's able to fall backwards, cause a pillar of water to spray up in the exact way that he wants it to, so that it blocks a ball that's hurtling extremely fast towards him, and then also use his feet from this laying down position very quickly to knock the ball directly towards Shiro. So we really shouldn't underestimate Sora's physical capabilities from here on out. He's able to calculate everything out in his head, exactly what he needs to do, though he's not as much of a human calculator as Shiro is. Now he is also able to physically keep up with those calculations and put everything to use. So now, after this dramatic move by Sora, the ball is headed directly towards Shiro, now completely soaked from going through the pillar of water that Sora brought up. And Shiro is barely able to pass it to Steph, because the ball is a lot heavier now. And she passed it very precisely, just at the edge of Steph's reach, so that when Steph went to hit it, as far as she could reach, it would go careening off to a point where Izuna would not be able to get it. Or, at least, a normal person wouldn't be able to get it. Izuna still is a Werebeast. And although she doesn't use her blood break at this point in time, she still uses the extent of her regular physical capabilities to dart towards the ball, going at a breakneck speed enough to leave a gap in the water, exposing the sand beneath her when she pushes off the ground to go towards the ball. And at that exact same speed that she had been traveling, she hits the ball with all her force. And the ball, with that much force put towards it, simply pops and hits the water in front of Izuna. And Sora turns to Izuna and says, "Too bad, you lose. Using your full strength was your downfall. After the ball was completely soaked, it just wasn't capable of withstanding that kind of force." Izuna, of course, is very frustrated at this, but technically, by the rules, Sora and Shiro did win this game. Steph, of course, now realizing that all three of the people she was playing with weren't just, playing, and she asks them, "Don't you ever play for fun?" And the immediate response she got from each of them was essentially just, "Ha ha, no, not when it comes to games." The Shrine Maiden, too, was quite impressed with Sora and Shiro's efforts, that they were actually able to beat Izuna at sports. This ain't a video game either. This was IRL. Sora and Shiro, out in the sun, gamers out in the wild, were able to beat a Werebeast at sports. The Shrine Maiden does make note of their blatant disregard for the rules, which technically they didn't break the rules in any way, shape, or form. They just, made it so Izuna would lose. This game was set up so that there would be one loser and the other three would win. And now with the ball busted, there was only one round of the game that could be played. So, yeah, Sora and Shiro and Steph are the winners of this game. After this point, before the Shrine Maiden can say anything further, Jabril steals the top of her swimsuit. Not going to get into that with this one. If you want to hear more about that and the entire situation surrounding this game, then I highly encourage you to check out my reviews of Light Novel Volume 4 of No Game, No Life. I wanted to cover this game in its own video because it shows a couple things about Sora and Shiro's nature that no matter what, they will always play for keeps. They are always going to play to win. That is their code as a gamer. Blank does not lose, even if you're just playing for fun. So once rules are established, blank gets serious. Before that, though, they were just passing the ball back and forth. It was Izuna who didn't understand, and Izuna who brought that gamer's instinct out of blank by having them clarify the rules. And it also shows that even if it's a physical competition, doesn't have to be video games, doesn't have to be something strictly intellectual, even physical competitions, Sora and Shiro will find a way to win one way or another. However underhanded that might be, however much they have to set up their opponents, something that is consistent with what we've seen throughout other games that have actual stakes in No Game, No Life. But this game is also just something special, I feel, in the grand scope of the series. The fact that they are just playing here. Winning or losing doesn't actually matter. Of course, it would matter to Sora and Shiro personally, and it would matter a great deal to Izuna if she was actually able to beat Sora and Shiro, but this is just a game played for fun. We very rarely, if never at all, get to see a game actually spelled out like this in the light novel that is just for fun. No stakes whatsoever. In the anime, and even in the light novels, we hear about Sora and Shiro playing games against each other, playing games against Izuna. They're just playing on their video games, playing just for fun with no stakes or anything like that. However, even those games, there is often something bet by the covenants, whether it's something as simple as just being able to pet Izuna's tail, or, do one thing that I say, or something like that. There are often stakes. This one just has no stakes whatsoever, and it's clearly defined as such, which I think is something special. And I feel it's worth covering, even though it's a game that's so insignificant, it's, again, not even given a name in the light novel. So I'm just going to refer to it as beach volleyball, because technically, I guess that's kind of what it is, though they're not going for points, there's no net involved or anything like that, but still. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below of this simple game in No Game, No Life. One that has no stakes, but is still a game that is fun to talk about and see how Sora and Shiro will still do whatever it takes to win. Let me know if there's anything that I missed about this game. It's pretty simple, like 2 pages long, so I don't think that I did, but it's always possible, especially with different translations existing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the sports game that Sora and Shiro played and won against the Werebeast. If you enjoyed this video, want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Flugel. And if you want to talk to me live, I also stream on Twitch a couple times a week and would love to see you all there. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ashente.